My family are Sicilian immigrants. I was born in Sicily, and we came over in around 1968. And most of the people from the village where I come from, they either went to York, Pennsylvania, or they went to Montreal. And we spent 18 months in Montreal and then got to York in time for me to start first grade. We had our Sicilian aunts and uncles, and we had to speak Italian because my family did not speak English. They all had a third grade education. Whatever year it was that the movie came out about the mafia, what is it called? The Godfather. Okay, we all watched The Godfather in York, Pennsylvania, and those people spoke the dialect that we spoke, right? Those were Sicilians. We laughed as young people, however old we were, we laughed away just like everyone, just like American people. We received the story not knowing about that life because no one that we knew in York lived that life. So we thought, yep, no mafia in our family because it would be very clear because there'd be incredible amounts of money and none of the family had money. I mean, they worked and all right. In my 30s, one day, my mother said, do you know what? I want to go visit my cousins in Montreal. She had not seen them for 30 years or something. I said, okay, we'll drive up to Montreal. So we had it timed that we were going to go to the club. We come from a town called Cattolica, and they had a Cattolica club that met in Montreal, and this was going to happen to be the annual picnic. And I said, we've got to go, like everyone will show up at the picnic and you'll see people you haven't seen. And it absolutely turned out where there she was walking around and she said, oh my gosh, you were my neighbor. Oh my gosh, here's so-and-so, here's so-and-so. This man walks by and he recognizes my mother. She says hello to him. And his name turns out to be Vito Rizzuto. I don't know if that name means anything to you. It meant nothing to me. We made our rounds of family visits to all of her cousins. Her mother was one of 6 or 7 children, and then they all had children. So this was a lot of people that we were visiting. In one of the houses, we got to talking to the people my age, the young people, and the one son of her cousin, my mother's cousin, said, do you know who Vito Rizzuto is? I said, I don't know. I have no idea. And he starts telling me that this is one of the biggest mafia bosses in the world, okay? Now and he said there are books written about him. I thought, he's probably exaggerating, but it stuck in my mind, the name, that there were books written about him. And as an aside, in Sicily, you do not go casually talking about your mafia relatives. So in my family, never did I hear any aunt or uncle talk about mafia ever. This was not a laughing matter to Sicilians. And it's exactly the same if any of you know about the Ku Klux Klan, you don't go laughing about them. In Sicily, they know what those people can do. There's no laughter. But that movie, many Americans and we as young people thought it was, funny, the stuff that was being shown. Okay. I get home to York and I casually mention to my sister and my niece, do you know what? Mother's first cousin is Vito Rizzuto, and he's one of the biggest mafia bosses, and there's books written about him. And that's it. That's the last that I thought about it. Turns out my sister looks up the books. My niece looks them up. They read the books. They buy them. They show them to me. And my niece does a paper about this man, like in high school or something. And it all turns out to be true. And I have a brother-in-law that was overseas at the time that Vito Rizzuto passed away. And my brother-in-law said it was like on CNN, that name, and that he had passed away, that he was this big of a deal. And in Montreal, when I was visiting, they said to me, if you are Sicilian, it is somewhere in your family. And I thought it was incredible. Okay, then I bought the book, I read the stuff, and our little village, it's just a village, you can't even call it a town, the Welcome to Cattolica, that sign is in the book, and from our little town come some of the biggest mafia names on the planet. This man had made a name for himself. See, I was focused on the New York families and those names that we heard of, like in the news. And it was true that this man was even a bigger deal than them. That's it, my family ties.